86% of renters say they cannot afford to buy a home, with majority saying they will never afford one.
Can nobody buy a house anymore? From how things have been developing in terms of recession and horrific job market, it might be the case. Let's get into it all. The American housing market is facing a number of challenges that are making homeownership increasingly difficult for many families. In a recent discussion, entrepreneur and financial commentator Patrick Bet-David had commented on this. He outlined the various factors contributing to what he sees as an escalating mortgage crisis, and its far-reaching impacts on the economy and society at large. What is at its core is the combination of record-high home prices coinciding with rising mortgage rates. As Bet-David points out, that's pretty crazy. Record-high home prices and record-high mortgage rates. This dual pressure is putting the dream of home ownership out of reach for a growing number of Americans. The root cause, according to Bet-David, is a fundamental supply and demand imbalance. Simply put, there are not enough homes in this country, and that's pushing home ownership out of reach for too many families. Get it? Estimates suggest that there is shortage of around 4.5 million homes in the United States. This lack of housing inventory is driving up prices even as borrowing costs increase. Recent data shows mortgage rates experiencing their biggest jump in 2 months, going above 7% after a brief downward trend. You think that's huge? That benchmark 30-year mortgage rate also hit 7.03%, up from 6.93% previously. Jumbo loan rates for higher value properties saw a climb to 7.11%. So if one is dreaming of buying something huge on loan, better to stay put for some time. These rising rates are not going on its own, but they have ripple effects also. The Market Composite Index, which measures the total number of mortgage applications, fell by 2.6% in late June. This pullback in mortgage activity is indeed an indicator of challenges that homebuyers are facing in the current market. Given these hard turns, Bet-David suggests that renting may be the wiser option for many people right now. If you can find a great rental in the market under consume housing, that's the play. This more relaxed approach allows people to save money that would otherwise go towards an expensive mortgage payment. What's more, it's better to save money and buy later, even if one is able to afford it. Buying at peak prices comes with additional costs beyond just a mortgage payment. Property taxes will be based on that peak valuation, as will homeowners' insurances, since they're tied to replacement costs as well. Anything will have a cause and effect, right? The mortgage crisis, too, is not occurring alone. This again is part of a broader set of economic challenges. Bet-David notes that American consumers currently hold more debt than they have in the last 32 years. This high debt rate makes many households more vulnerable to economic shocks or rising costs. Adding another layer of problems to the housing market are political and policy uncertainties. The potential impact of the upcoming presidential election will affect economies also, no doubts about it. So will the housing markets and policies too. It is not a secret that if Donald Trump were to win re-election, it could lead to renewed tax cuts and pressure on the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates more aggressively as well. However, Bet-David also emphasizes the unpredictable nature of economic trends, especially in light of recent experiences like the COVID-19 pandemic. Whether you buy or you don't buy, just be ready for the risk both ways, he advises. Even if that is the case, there are conflicting views on where the economy and markets are headed, with some predicting a stock market crash while others remain optimistic. Maybe it's time to start listening to Warren Buffett? For the average family looking to buy a home, focusing on the long-term picture will be the better option. If one is planning to live in a home for 5 to 7 years or more, short-term market fluctuations become less critical. In that case, even if rates drop in the future, homeowners have the option to refinance. However, for those considering a shorter-term move of just 1 to 2 years, it is somewhere advised against buying in the current market. These challenges in the housing market are making life harder for people in the insurance industry, particularly in states prone to natural disasters like California and Florida. Major insurers like State Farm are demanding significant rate hikes or threatening to exit these markets entirely. In California, State Farm is seeking to raise home insurance rates by a whopping 30% for homeowners, 36% for condo owners, and a staggering 52% for renters. Goodness gracious! What causes these then? Well, this insurance crisis is driven by multiple factors, including increased rebuild costs due to inflation and higher risks from events like wildfires. Adding to it, the rebuild costs have risen by 31% over the past 5 years, putting pressure on insurers' ability to cover losses. The issues of state mismanagement, particularly in California, where failures to maintain infrastructure and manage forests have contributed to increasing wildfire risks, also are clearly not helping as well. What is more is that this insurance crisis is not limited to just 1 or 2 states. Other regions, including Louisiana, are facing similar challenges. The list of insurers pulling out or limiting coverage in these high-risk areas is growing, including major players like Allstate, Nationwide, and Progressive. This trend poses a significant threat to the stability of local housing markets and could make things worth considering the affordability issues. Coming back to the costs, these are clearly not just independent trends. It's a reflection of the changing risk landscape and economic realities which potentially could have further problems. And it is not completely wrong to start thinking of another housing crisis like 2008. Insurers, as for-profit entities, need to find ways to make their business models work in these challenging environments. State governors and regulators will need to find ways to balance consumer protection with creating an environment where insurers can operate sustainably as well. Will they find balance? That's the important question. Recent data also shows wage growth slowing to 2.4% annually, with unemployment ticking up slightly to 3.9%. While some analysts view this cooling of the job market as potentially positive for controlling inflation, some are clearly saying that it is a warning sign for workers. Keeping aside all the technical terminologies, there is one thing everyone might have noticed. There has been a widespread shift towards more part-time jobs and fewer full-time positions. This trend has been ongoing since August 2023, with part-time job creation outpacing a full-time job growth as well. Remember the term gig economy? Coming back to Bet David, he notes that he has been receiving more inquiries from people looking to transition careers, start side hustles, or find ways to generate additional income. This trend also shows the growing economic anxiety and a recognition that the traditional career paths may be becoming less secure. He also believes that the state of the economy will be a crucial factor in the upcoming presidential election. He points out that on the three most pressing issues in America, the economy, immigration, and healthcare, everyone hears about them from the president's mouth all the time, right? This dynamic, in his view, makes a change in administration more likely. This again could also have significant implications for economic policy and, without any doubts, the housing market. But is it all bleak? Interestingly, some markets are beginning to show signs of a potential bubble burst. In Florida, for instance, housing supply is surging in some metro areas, with increases of up to 51% in places like Cape Coral. This increased supply is leading to price cuts in some areas. Similar trends are also being observed in parts of Texas as well. Silver lining indeed. But then comes the next villain, the rising credit card skipping rates. This has been particularly the case in states like California, Texas, and Florida. This increasing financial stress on households could also mean more forced home sales. Imagine this situation. There are more homes in the market than there are customers. So what do you think will happen? It means that there will be more options for the customers, so less price they are willing to pay as they will have more bargaining power. Simple logic, right? Looking ahead, the responsibility is with the role of the Federal Reserve in shaping the economic landscape. The decisions made by Fed Chairman Jerome Powell regarding interest rates are going to have bigger impacts on mortgage rates. Currently, with the federal funds rate at 5.5% and the prime rate at 8.5%, mortgage rates are likely to remain elevated in the near term. However, there is indeed a potential for change on the horizon. Rumors have had it that owing to the conditions, Fed may consider rate cuts later in the year, possibly around September or October. This could create a window of opportunity for home buyers in the late summer or early fall. Those sellers who are hesitant to negotiate now may become willing to negotiate as they will see potential rate cuts as well. To sum things up, the housing market, like the broader economy, is subject to numerous unpredictable factors, and what works in one region or at one time may not apply universally. As one sits back and watches the complex factors unfolding, it is advised by the experts that a long-term perspective will be key to surviving during these housing market crises and beyond. Now, what do you think of this case? Do you think things will get better? Do drop your reviews in the comment section below, and we'll meet again in the next video.